The rejection notice glowed on the holographic display, its cold blue light reflecting off Emma's iridescent scales. Physique incompatible with client preferences. Contract terminated. Refund processing. Emma's tail coiled around her ankles as she read the words again, her golden eyes dimming. This was the third rejection this cycle. The draconian matching agency had assured her that human colonies were desperate for companionship, that her people's strength and longevity made them ideal partners. They hadn't mentioned that humans seemed to want something else entirely, something slender, delicate, fragile. She traced a clawed finger over her reflection in the station's viewport. Her body was powerful, built for flight and fire, with curves that spoke of her dragon heritage. Broad shoulders, strong thighs, hips designed for balance in aerial combat. Every part of her screamed warrior, not the demure companion these colonists seemed to want. Another one. Crix, the station's Zenthary administrator, clicked his mandibles sympathetically. Emma, perhaps you should consider— Don't, she interrupted, her voice carrying the resonance of her kind. Don't tell me to change who I am. Crix's antennae drooped. There's one more application. Just came through. A veteran on the Outer Rim colony, Sanctuary 7. Jason Martinez. He didn't specify physical preferences at all, just asked for someone strong, loyal, and brave. Emma snorted, small wisps of smoke curling from her nostrils. They all say that until they see me. His file is interesting, Crix continued, pulling up the data. Combat veteran. Lost his entire unit in the Void Wars. He's been alone out there for 3 years, rebuilding a settlement. Against her better judgment, Emma looked. Jason's photo showed a weathered face, dark hair shot through with premature gray, and eyes that had seen too much. There was a scar across his jaw, and his prosthetic left arm was clearly military-grade. He looked tired. Real. Fine, Emma said. One more try. The shuttle touched down on Sanctuary 7 during a dust storm. Emma's sensors could barely penetrate the red haze as she made her way to the settlement. The colony was smaller than she'd expected, just a cluster of prefab structures around a central hub, solar panels struggling against the planet's harsh environment. Jason was waiting at the airlock, and Emma braced herself for the familiar look of disappointment. IT never came. Instead, his eyes widened, and something like relief crossed his features. You actually came, he said, his voice rough from disuse. I thought. After the others saw the colony, others. Emma's tail swished with curiosity. 3 human women. Took one look at this place, and the transport couldn't come fast enough. He gestured around at the sparse settlement. Can't blame them. It's not much. Emma stepped fully into the airlock, and Jason stepped back, not in fear or rejection, but to give her room. She was easily a head taller than him, her wings folded tight against her back in the confined space. You're not what I expected, Jason said, and Emma's heart sank. Here it comes. You're incredible. Emma blinked, her nictitating membranes sliding across her eyes in surprise. What? The agency said you were draconian, but they didn't say. He gestured helplessly. You look like you could tear apart a battle mech with your bare hands. That's exactly what this place needs. You're not disappointed. Emma's voice was smaller than she'd ever heard it. Jason laughed, the sound bitter. Disappointed? Emma, I've been fighting my whole life. Lost my arm to a plasma blast. Watched my friends die in the dark between stars. I came here to build something that matters, something that lasts. I didn't ask for a decoration. I asked for a partner. Someone who understands what it means to fight for what you believe in. He extended his hand, the prosthetic one. The question is, am I what you expected? Emma looked at him, really looked. At the scars, the weariness, the hope buried deep in his eyes. At the settlement beyond, harsh and unforgiving but honest. At a man who saw her strength and called it incredible instead of intimidating. She took his hand, her scales warm against his metal fingers. You're better. Over the following weeks, Emma learned what Jason had meant. Sanctuary 7 wasn't just harsh, it was brutal. Dust storms that could strip paint from metal. Native creatures that tested the perimeter defenses nightly. Equipment that broke down faster than it could be repaired. But Emma was built for this. When a sandstorm tore apart the eastern solar array, Emma flew into the teeth of the wind, her powerful body anchoring the panels while Jason made repairs. When raiders from a neighboring system thought the colony looked vulnerable, Emma's roar and gout of flame convinced them otherwise. When the water reclaimer failed and they had to dig for the underground reservoir, Emma's claws and strength did in hours what would have taken Jason weeks at night. They sat in the observation dome, watching the planet's twin moons rise. Jason told her about the war, about the darkness between stars, and the friends he'd lost. Emma told him about her rejections, about feeling too big, too strong, too much. They were fools, Jason said simply. Every single one of them. You're not too anything. You're exactly enough. Emma's tail wrapped around his ankle, a gesture of affection among her kind. You needed a warrior. I needed a partner, Jason corrected. The fact that you're a warrior who can literally breathe fire is just a bonus. 6 months later, the colony had doubled in size. Word had spread about the settlement protected by a dragon and built by a veteran who knew the value of strength. Other outcasts, other warriors, other people who didn't fit the delicate molds their societies had created for them. They came to Sanctuary 7 and found home. Emma stood on the ridge overlooking the growing colony, her wings spread wide in the sunset. Jason joined her, his hand finding hers. Still think you're too curvy? He asked with a smile. Emma laughed, the sound echoing across the valley like rolling thunder. I think I'm exactly what you needed. No, Jason said, pulling her close. You're exactly what we all needed. Someone to show us that strength isn't something to apologize for. Below them, Sanctuary 7 glowed with life, a beacon in the darkness, built not on delicate beauty, but on the unshakable foundation of knowing one's worth. And Emma, the dragon woman who had been rejected for being too much, finally understood that she had never been the problem. She had simply been waiting for someone brave enough to see that her strength wasn't a flaw to overlook. It was a gift to celebrate at the end.